welcome to Next Level Conversations Season 2. I am excited. We have so much going on. We have an awesome season planned for you, but tonight is our season premiere, and we are going to be doing Ask Me Anything. This is one of my favorite episodes. I take the time to take all of your questions that you asked me all month long. And what our team did was we took all the questions, and in particular, the questions relating to mental health. Because for the rest of this month, we are going to be talking about mental health, and we are going to be bringing on quite a few different individuals to talk about the impact of mental health on our everyday life. We have Patrick LeBlanc, who is the founder and creator of Bridging the Gap Foundation. We're going to be bringing on mental health experts. We're going to be talking with young ladies who are going to be sharing their story of their mental health journey and how they are now helping others. And you yourself, by the end of this month, you will have an opportunity to support our community and in helping to bridge the gap and help others who do not have an opportunity to afford mental health therapy, help them get mental health. And so, you know what I love to do? I love to start everything with me first. And so tonight, as I said, I am going to be taking some of your questions as it relates particularly to mental health, but know that you do not have to be limited to just mental health. And so as we're going, we already have some of the questions that you all have been sending in. But remember that you can drop your questions in the chat, and I will make sure that we pick those questions up on tonight as we go through it. Okay? Are you ready? I'm excited. I'm so excited for season 2. Okay, so we're going to start with the first question, which is, and note that I have not looked at any of your questions, any of these questions at all. So these are going to be answered organically, and they're going to come straight from the heart, and we're going to see what we get. Okay, we're going to see what we get. All right, so here we go. Have you dealt with mental health problems when you were young? Yes, I did. I actually dealt with a lot of mental health issues. For those of you who know me and know a little bit about my journey, then you know that when I was young, I was the victim of child abuse. And it really, really, really messed me up, as it would anybody. And so throughout my teenage years, I was very depressed. I was very depressed. I was very angry. I had a lot of emotions going on, a lot of things that I did not understand. My body was doing things that I did not understand because I had been introduced to sex in a very unhealthy and unorthodox way. And so my body was having responses that I was not comfortable with. I had a lot of anger. I had a lot of sadness. I had a lot of issues. And so, yes, I had a lot of mental health problems. I probably was a very, very, very angry and a suicidal child. I will admit that I did try to kill myself a few times because there were things that I just didn't understand. And I was so disgusted with myself and unhappy. And I didn't know how to communicate what I was going through. I didn't know how to talk. We did not live in a household where we talked about our emotions and stuff like that. And so the silence killed me. The silence was burning me up. And the only way that I could handle it is I was internalizing it. So that caused a lot of mental health issues for me. For a long time, I thought that I was completely psycho. And if you talk to a few people, they probably would have said that I was. But I thank God, I will say that I did not have the luxury of seeking out mental help from a professional. That was not something that we did. It was not something that we could afford. And so my mom's response to helping me deal with a lot of the issues was to take me to church and put me on the altar. And I'm not saying that it did not work, because church probably is the only thing that saved my life, but I did have a lot of issues that I needed to work through. So, okay. How have you found ways to cope with and manage your mental health struggles? Good question. Um, the number one way that I now handle my mental health struggles and keeping myself mentally stable. Because remember that when I started this journey, one of my main goals was to become mentally healthy, because I knew that I was not. I lived with that mental instability for a very long time. And that was one of my goals. And so when I started my journey, one of the things that I had to do was go see a professional. I had to seek professional help, because it was just beyond me. It really was. It was beyond me. And she gave me some really great advice on how to handle all the things that were inside of me and that were killing me and that was causing me to feel suffocated. And one of the things that she told me that I still do to this very day and that I carry with me, I think about all the time, and it's how I handle and stay grounded, is she told me to give every feeling, every emotion, every thought, give it an opportunity. Give it an opportunity to come out. And you put a time limit on it. And so what I do with certain thoughts, I will, let's say I'm feeling a certain way on today about something that I've been dealing with for quite a while. I will pull it out and I'll give it a time limit. I say, okay, I'm gonna sit on this, or I'm gonna dwell on this for about 10, 15 minutes. And I give it its time. I cry, I talk, I do whatever I need to do. And then I put it back. And if I need to take it out the next day, I take it out the next day. And so what I begin to do is I begin to use that method with different things, situations in my life. And some things I had to take out maybe a couple of times a day. And sometimes they lasted long. Other things I only had to take out maybe probably once or twice a month or every 6 months, but it gradually got better, such that the things that I was feeling, I gave them space to breathe and then release them. And so I use that, I use that now today very often. I also work out. That's one way I keep myself mentally grounded. I pray and I meditate. I talk to God a whole lot. He is my confidant. I journal and I talk to I have a circle of accountability people who help me, that I talk with about different issues. I no longer keep everything inside. I've concluded that I cannot solve problems on my own. And so that's what I do to make sure that I keep myself mentally healthy. Next question. How do you overcome adversity in life? Ooh, okay, well, that's a good one. One of the main things I will tell you is I don't consider things adversity like normal people. I consider things that come as challenges and opportunities to grow. So I don't consider it adversity. I consider it a learning experience. And so that's how I approach it now. I approach problems as, okay, God, this is where I'm at and this is what I'm dealing with. How do you want me to handle this? Because this is a growing experience and I want to get what I need to get out of this so that I do not have to come back to this and replay this scene, or rehash this experience again. And so that's how I approach problems. And I approach them like that. And it allows me to look at them with joy and peace. So they don't weigh me down. Although, do not get me wrong, I feel them, I feel the weight of them, but I also know that this is a growing opportunity. This is a life experience, as opposed to this is just happening to me and oh my God, life is just horrible. That's how I used to do. I'm not gonna lie. That's how I used to approach life. That's how I used to approach problems. But now I look at them as this is an opportunity for me to learn, and this is an opportunity for me to go to the next level. That's part of the reason why I call it next level, because our situations, our adversity, our challenges come to move us. You're supposed to grow from every experience that you have. And so every experience that I enter into, I grow. I don't approach it the same. I know that I'm starting it on a different level because of the last experience that I had. I'm not the same person. And so that's how I look at adversity that comes my way. That's how I look at experiences. It's a growing lesson. It's a growing opportunity. And that's how I embrace it. And it just allows me to, sometimes I stay in them long, sometimes I don't, but I always learn from them. How has your mental health journey influenced your career or personal goals? Oh, that's a very good question. Very, very, very good question. Mainly in part because of my mental health journey, I am sitting right here today. There was something profound that happened to me when I woke up, when I out of the haze of being mentally drained and unhealthy. And I started learning how to process my emotions and the things that I was going through. I stopped holding every negative word, and I started letting go of negative experiences. I became so light, and I became so free, and I became inspired, and I wanted to share it. I did. I wanted to share it, and understanding how to handle things that came at me in life has helped me become a better individual, become a better daughter, become a better leader. I'm not going to say boss. I'm going to say leader, because I have people that I work with that I lead. And it's given me compassion for other people. And so I started Next Level to talk about these experiences and to talk about these issues so that we can help other people. One of the missions, well, not one of the missions, the mission of my company, Fight Girl Production, is we are seeking the hopeless, because we know what it feels like. We know what it feels like to be sad and to be depressed and to be lonely and to be lost. I know what it feels like. I know what it feels like not to have your voice and not being able to articulate what it is that you're going through and be so down, and life just feels as if it's just constantly just beating you down. I know what it feels like to decide to take your life because you think that there is no hope and this is all that there is. That when I was younger, that's all I would hear in my head, that there is nothing else, that this is it. And so I made decisions based upon that false narrative that this is it. And so I understand what the hopeless feels like. And so I want to be able to help them. I do. I want to be able to help them and let them see and let them know that there is hope, because nobody was talking to me about hope when I was on the other side. Nobody was speaking about life and more abundantly and and joy, and that Shawnte, life is not happening to you. Life is happening for you. And all of these things that you're going through, they are going to make you better. And this is just for a moment. I used to think where I was and what I was going through and the way my situation was, that was it. I never understood that this is just a moment and it will pass. And even though a moment may last for a couple of days or a couple of months or a couple of years, I didn't understand that. And nobody was telling me that. And so what we are committed to doing here at NexLevel is letting people know the thing that you're going through, it's just for a moment. There's still hope. There is still hope. You don't have to quit right here. There's another side. There's more life. The only person who was saying that to me when I was younger was God, and I just wasn't listening. But I had to listen enough because I didn't end up killing myself, thank God. So, but yeah, it has had a profound impact on my career goals and my career journey. What has been the most helpful resource or support for you in managing your mental health? Jesus, these some hard questions. Okay. What has been the most helpful resource or support for you in managing your mental health? First and foremost, I am I am going to say my relationship with God. I have to give God every ounce of credit, because without him, I'm nobody. I'm not here. Without him speaking to me in those dark hours and giving me visions and telling me and showing me that there's more to life and teaching me how to dream and allowing me to dream, and then him in the light reminding me of those dreams and of what he said when it was real dark. Without him, I would not be able to move. So so the most helpful resource and support for managing my mental health journey is God. I stay before him constantly. I can't do it without him. The next tangible thing that I would say is working out. Working out really helps me to put life into perspective. And it reminds me that, Shawnte, you can actually do a whole lot of things. You can handle hard things and you can handle hard moments. And it all every day it fuels me, and it helps me with heavy weights. Help me see that what I'm carrying in life is pretty easy if I can make it through this with sore legs and all of that different type of stuff. Journaling has been a major support and a tool that I have used. Journaling is very important to me, getting all of those thoughts out of my head and really just being honest on paper. That helps me. And I do that every single day, all day, actually. Sometimes I'll just open up my phone and I'll just begin to write, or I start every morning writing in my journal. And the first thing I write is what I'm feeling, not where I want to be feeling, but what I'm actually feeling. And I just purge. And so that helps me really a whole lot. And the last thing is probably my friends, my community. My community helps me manage my mental health, because they're always checking in with me. They're always making themselves available such that I can talk, and they're always listening. So those are the tools that I use to manage my mental health. What can friends and loved ones do to support someone who is struggling with their mental health? I'm not a mental health expert on anybody but Shawnte. That's why I'm gonna start out saying that. But one of the things I would definitely, and I always recommend to people, is to go seek professional help. Go find a counselor. Go find somebody who is skilled to handle the issues that you have going on. But a lot of people don't do that. don't reach out to counselors, don't believe in counseling. And so the next thing that I would definitely tell someone who has a friend or a family member that's struggling with mental health, I would tell that person to be a listening ear. Don't talk, don't judge, but listen. Just allow them the emotional air to release and to breathe, just to talk it out. You would be surprised how powerful that is. Having somebody hear you, having somebody see you, allow them, create a safe place for them to talk. That to me is the biggest, really big. What is the biggest misconception about mental health that you would like to dispel? I think, you know what, me, myself personally, again, I'm not an expert, but you know, y'all questions are so good. I can guarantee you we're going to ask the experts about some of this stuff next week. But I think one of the biggest things about mental health that needs to be looked at and readjusted is we all are suffering from something. The truth is, all of us, in my opinion, all of us should be on a couch because all of us are walking around with PTSD in some area of our life. And so just because you are not out on the you know, homeless and doing things like that does not mean that that a person is not struggling with mental health issues. Um, so mental health affects all of us. It's we're all walking a fine line. So we can't just shun people or just say, you know, I'm perfectly fine. The person who sits here and says, in my opinion, that they're perfectly fine is probably the person with the most mental health issues. And I say this knowing that I was that person. I was that person who used to look at others and say, "Oh, I'm good. Something wrong with them." When in reality, they were better mentally than I was. My mind was real jacked up. And so I think that that is something that definitely needs to change. That, you know, the only way you have some mental health issues is if you're homeless or if you're in a hospital or something like that. We all are suffering from something and we all need help. um all right, these are some tight questions. Okay. What inspired you to speak out about your mental health struggles? Okay, so first I'm gonna say this. It was almost like Jeremiah. It was shut up in my bones. I could not speak because again, there is something that happens once you get healed. You want to share it with everybody. You want to share this thing that helped you, this thing that has changed your life. You want to share it, especially with people that you love, and even more when you look around and you see so many people like you. There were not conversations being had in my life, in my world, about the deep rooted issues that we were dealing with, and everybody thought that they were alone. You know, it was once you start talking about it, it was, oh, I thought I was the only person that felt that way, or I felt ashamed saying that or feeling that. I talk to people now, and people tell me, oh, I feel that. I feel that way, and I would never tell anybody that. I thought I was the only person who felt that way. It was just you know, the leader in me. Well, it was God. I guess at the end of the day, what inspired you to speak out about your mental health struggle? It was God. God told me to open up my mouth because there are other people. If you're asking these questions, if you're dealing with this, there are other people who are dealing with it too. And your story and you being honest and you being transparent and you being vulnerable will help them be open and vulnerable and transparent because we all want to be our best self and raise children who are their best self. And when I looked out and I looked in my world, we were all unhealthy. And so I had to step in, and change starts with me. So if I wanted to change the conversation, I had to be an example. So I changed the conversation. All right. What are the biggest lessons you learned this past year? Woo! The biggest lesson, um, the biggest lesson that I learned this past year, I'm stronger than I think I am. I am. It took me a moment. It took me a moment to learn that, to really, really grab it, to really grab it. But this past year has taught me that there's a whole lot more in me that I haven't even tapped into. And I have been limiting myself. And there were some places, by the time I got to the end of the year, there were some places in my life that thought that I was good, just to for God to reveal that I had been allowing fear to lead me. And it was making the choice to step out of fear and step into faith and step into strength that showed me that, Shawnte, you're a lot stronger than you think you are. And so that was the biggest lesson learned this year. You can handle a whole lot more than you think you can. And that's good because, again, every level, every experience should stretch you. It should make you better. Everything that you go through in your life, it should move you to the next level because you've learned something from it. And so when you start the next experience, you're starting it on another level. And I thank God that all of those experiences, I had a whole lot of them, and they were massive. But I elevated in a significant way this past year. And I saw myself in a way that I hadn't seen myself. And I thank God for that. So that was my biggest lesson. Thank God 2023 is over with though. Oh, tell me about something traumatic that happened to you this past year. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. And y'all may laugh at me, but this was very traumatic for me. I have never had anybody break into my home and step into my sanctuary. And it wasn't actually my house, but it was my garage, but still that's mine. And I've never had anybody do that. I've been violated before. And so for a moment, that theft almost took me back to when I was a young girl, and I felt hopeless and at the mercy of others. And God really he had to really work that thing through on me for a little while to get that out of my head. But somebody broke into my garage and they stole my press machine and all of my podcasting equipment and all sorts of stuff. And I felt really exposed. And for a minute, fear, I mean, like literal fear was trying to creep into my life. Like, is somebody watching me? And all sorts of stuff was trying to get into my head. And God literally he had to adjust. He had to really talk to me. And I had to talk that thing out over a couple of weeks before I completely let it go and begin to feel comfortable. But that was so traumatic to me personally because I never had it happen to me before, and I felt angry because I was mad. but still, that was a traumatic thing that happened to me this past year. All right, so we're going. Let me see here. We got time for one more question before I open it up to our audience and take some questions from our audience. So if you have not dropped your questions in the chat, do that while I answer one more question here. Okay. How has the conversation around mental health evolved during your lifetime, and where do you see it heading in the future? Well, I will say this. Growing up in my world, there was no talk about mental health. We weren't talking, I mean, honestly, it was suck it up, deal with it. All of us going through some stuff. Don't nobody want to hear it. So there was not a conversation growing up, but there has become more conversations are being had, and I think that is amazing. I think that is so good because there's so much stuff that we're going through, and we've been holding so much stuff that's been sitting in the bottom of our soul, and we've been trying to get it out for so long. And I think that because we are now having these conversations, more people are going to be freed. More people are going to get out of the prison that they have been in, and they are going to be able to walk in freedom and in peace. And they're going to be able to raise children who do not have repressed mental and emotional issues. That's where that's where I'm praying that the conversation will evolve into, and not just a conversation, but actual real steps. And in particular, the African American community, we will connect with more licensed professionals and get help for for the things that we're going through before we kill ourselves or kill others. It will stop a lot of the emotional and mental violence that's going on. That's where I really and truly believe this is taking us, and why these conversations are so important, and why I'm dedicated to having them. So those were some good questions. We got a few more, but I do want to take your questions, the questions from the audience. And so we are going to start that right after this. Let's get this chat going. Okay. What are you most excited about in 2024? Ooh, very good question. Very, very, very good question. One of the things I am going to tell you that I am excited about here in 2024 is NexLevel Conversations. We've already gotten off to a great start. There's going to be so many amazing things that we're going to be doing. And my word for 2024 is extend. Extend. And God gave me that word because I told you at the end of last year, I realized that there were some places in my life that I was still living in fear. And so he was telling me, Shawnte, it's time for you to stretch, extend yourself, go out into the deep. And as he was giving me that, and we were moving into this new season, there's been some stretching, and there are some places and some things that God has challenged me to do in business and in my personal life and relationships that is going to require me to extend all the way out into the deep. And I'm just excited about all of it. I'm excited about not living in fear. I'm excited about taking chances. I'm excited about seeing what will happen when I stop letting fear control me and fear lead. And I fully just, you know what? I'm just gonna try it. So that's what that I'm really excited about seeing what type of what what type of OG I may turn into, because there is no telling. So that I am really, really, really excited about. Talk about your wardrobe, okay? You know what? Somebody asked me earlier, one of the questions that was on the list. Hold on, let me see here. One of the questions that was on this list was, how do you choose what it is that how do you choose what it is that you wear for every show? The truth is, um, my executive producer, Sailor, and our technical director, Wes, they really are in charge of they're really to thank for my wardrobe, because they're the ones who should take, yeah, put that on. Look, that looks good. Wear these colors. Sailor be all over my wardrobe. So I know I have elevated my wardrobe a whole lot, and I have to thank all of my girls for that, because I used to be a straight black and white, no color at all. But um, my team has been encouraging me to wear more color, and so I've started to fall in love with more color and different things like that. So one of the things you have to do is you have to wear certain colors to help bring out the set and the lighting and all that. So they are more to credit for my wardrobe than I am. And Wes in particular, he is not afraid of color at all. So he's always challenging me, and my girls are always challenging me. So now I've been challenging myself to step out of my box and try new things. And this is very bold for me. This is a lot of this is a lot of color with flowers and all that different type of stuff. So that's been fun. So anyway, so let's get back to it. Okay. Do you have a word for 2024? I already did that. How do you deal with toxic family members? I'm gonna say this first. Cat Williams just did an interview with Shay Shay. It's a YouTube interview that just took place. Very, very, very good interview. If you have not watched it, it's very interesting, very good. And one of the questions that Shay asked Cat Williams was about toxic people and how he handled toxic people. And his response was so good. And it was a response that I never realized, but it's something that I actually do. But his response to dealing with toxic people was that every toxic person has a trigger. They have a trigger. And if you can figure out what their trigger is and not feed that trigger, they'll either leave you alone or they'll change. And I thought that was one, I hadn't heard it put like that, but I thought that was so good, and it's so true. And I deal with toxic people, and I'm not gonna call them toxic. I'm just gonna call them a little extra. Okay. Yes, they are they are extra, and because again, we all have issues. We all have issues. All of us are suffering from something. And it's just some are to more extreme than others. But one, I try to love them. I try to love them as best I can, but I also try to understand. I seek to understand. I seek to understand where they're coming from, why they're doing what they're doing. And that does not mean that I'm okay with their behavior. I seek to understand it. And then I make the choice about whether I want to be around it or not. And I finally got to the point in my life where I understand, and I have exercised the discipline to say, I don't have to engage in this every day. I just don't have to. I do not have to be part of this. I get a choice. And so I make the choice I make the choice not to be in close proximity with them. And that's really how I handle them. And when I am in the presence of toxic people, and they started doing toxic things, because people in some form are always doing something toxic. I either turn the conversation, or I turn the behavior um into a more positive way. And as Cat Williams said, you just don't feed it. You figure out what it is that triggers them. If it's when they get around this homegirl right here, it's gonna be real crazy. Or when they get liquor in them, if that's what we're going to do, then I'm not going to engage in that. Or if alcohol is going to cause the drama, if we're having an event, I make sure there's not alcohol. Whatever the case may be, you stop feeding the triggers. And so that's I really I think Cat Williams' advice was stellar, and it's something that I try to do myself. So hope that helps. Okay. All right. What were your best moments of the year? Yay. Oh, what was my best moments of the year? I'm gonna give you two. I'm gonna give you two. My first best moment of the year, honestly, 100%, was when my mama woke up in the hospital and knew who she was, where she was, and was fussing. That was that was that was one of my absolute best moments, because we did not think that she was going to make it. And to see her, for her to wake up and know who she was, because of the damage that was done and the things that she was going through, and to listen to her fuss, because she was fussing, and she was fussing at me. She didn't want to eat and all that, but fighting with her when she first woke up was one of the most beautiful moments. I'm looking off because I can see it right here in my in my head, and it was just it was it was beautiful. I'm almost wanting to cry, because it was truly beautiful. Um, One of my next best moments of the past year probably is going to be the season finale last year of our show. And I say that because when we started this in April, oh y'all, was it was I was terrified. I didn't think that I could do it. And we had so many things happening, and there was so many moments throughout the year that I was just wanting to quit. I was in my room crying. I was talking to God, and I was laid over Tanya's desk, and I just kept saying, what in the world made me say yes to God on this? I mean, just so many, there was so many emotions. But to see us finish that season and do all that we did was probably one of my proudest moments of 2023, because it just reminded me that, again, you can do anything that you set your mind and your heart to. And again, I can literally see it, and I remember how that felt at that season finale. So those were that was that was hmm, okay. Is there anything you wish people understood better about mental health? I think it goes back to what I said earlier, that we all suffer from from mental issues, and um our mental health affects our daily life. It's something that we have to be cognizant of every day, and we have to be diligent and hardcore about every single day, because but for the grace. I mean, I personally believe that all of us are just, you know, probably one event, one thing, maybe one phone call, one word from just going off the rails, but for the grace of God. And so um though people may look okay, everybody's not okay. So we have to handle each other with care. And that's what I think that we really need to know, understand, and appreciate. And just asking somebody if they're okay and they're saying I'm okay does not necessarily mean that they're okay, you know. So we have to, you have to approach everybody as if you're looking at yourself. What's your mental where are you mentally? And just assume that everybody else is there too. You know, whether you're sitting on cloud nine, well, just assume that everybody's sitting on cloud nine. But if you're feeling down, just assume that, you know what, she may be too. So what is it that I would want to hear right now? And how, you know, what do I want somebody to say to me, and how do I want somebody to handle me um in this moment? And that's something that I really try. I really, really, really work real hard and try to be intentional about doing that. So that's 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 something that I want everybody to know. Okay. All right. Oh, well, the good news is y'all didn't ask me too many hard questions right there on in the chat. Probably because all of these questions right here were pretty challenging. But if anybody has any other questions, and they don't have to be about mental health. We have a few more minutes. We have a few more minutes, and then we'll be wrapping up. But until then, I'll answer the rest of these questions on these cards, these very hard questions on these cards. All right. Whew. Okay. What type, okay. What type of things invoke anger in you? Hmm. That's a that's a good question. That's a good question. When people are I get real angry, or I get in my feelings. I feel a certain type of way when when people do crazy stuff. Um, Breaking into my garage and stealing from me. That was crazy. That invoked not just those feelings of being helpless, but that invoked that pulled some anger up out of me. I was mad. That's some crazy stuff. That's some, when you get out of your lane, that type of stuff really kind of it gets under my skin. Um, that makes me angry, but I try not to sit in anger too long. If the Bible talks about it, we can get angry, but sin not. So I try not to sit in anger too long, because I know the places that anger will take me, and so I try not to dwell on them too long. But um, when you mess with my babies, I can get real angry. I don't even care. I'm not even one that cares about messing with my money. But when you mess with the people that I love, I can get really kind of angry about that. What else kind of invokes anger in me? Hmm. It's not that much that makes me angry. It really is not. It takes quite a bit now. Now, I'm not gonna say I was always that way, but now it takes a few things to really get me to the point where I don't think I've been stalk raging mad in a long time. So when them people broke into my garage, and I know y'all are tired of hearing me say it, but when those folks broke into my garage and stole my press machine, that really it really worked something up in me. So you know, it is it just it is what it is. Okay, let me see. I think I've hit all of these questions. These people to understand better. What's the biggest misconception about? Yeah. Support for you managing your mental health. I've answered that. Oh, can you tell us about your journey with mental health and how it has impacted your life? think I I think I kind I think didn't I think I answered this. I'm not for sure, but I think I answered this. Um as we wrap up, I'm just going to say this. Um my mental health journey has been and probably was the catalyst for me changing and deciding that I needed to really get serious and do something because I was a walking depression. Um, I was full of anger. I was full of so much anger, especially when I was younger, y'all. Some of the things that I thought and some of the things that I contemplated doing, not just to myself, but to others, was so dark and so evil. And let's be clear, I, we all have a dark side. We all can go over to the other side. And again, it's but for the grace of God. And I think I was closer to the dark side than I was to the light. And I thank God that before I tipped all the way over, because I was contemplating some stuff. I was contemplating some stuff. Um, I thank God that God stepped in. He did. He stepped in because my head was, and it has taken a lot of work to undo all that I did and the decisions and the things that's the thing that I really hate. I hate the people that I allowed in my life when I wasn't in my right mind and the things that I allowed to be done to me and that I did to others when I wasn't in my right mind. Some of those things I'm still paying for today. I'm still having to deal with the consequences of those decisions today. Um, but there's a lot of things that had I been in my right mind, and this is real talk, had I been in my right mind, I would not have gotten into, I would not have done. So my mental health journey has it has had a major impact, and I'm so grateful to God that I am mentally stronger today than even I was yesterday. And it inspires me. It makes me happy. So anyway, what great questions. What a really, really, really great questions. And oh, okay, well, hold on. How have you changed? Okay, we got 5 minutes. How have you changed from 2023 to 24 in the short winter break? And have you had time to reflect? Yes, I have. I've changed significantly. And as I was saying earlier, one of the major ways that I figured out and that one of the points of reflection that I have spent the last month and a half doing, maybe 2 months, whenever our last show was I think our last show was November 7th. So that period of time was realizing and reflecting on the places in my life where I would go so far and then I would stop because somewhere I allowed fear and I saw a barrier. And God told me, he literally told me, um, he said, you have one foot in and one foot out. You're straggling the fence. You're not all in and you're not all out. And and this is in so many areas of my life, and relationships and finances and business and even some of my thoughts. So I've spent I've spent the last few weeks really reflecting on that and really coming to and making a decision to be all in my own life, in all the places where I have been called and I've stepped into all the things that I've stepped into. I've spent the last few weeks formulating, reflecting, journaling, and trying to figure out what it was that was keeping me, that had me straddling the fence, just to realize that it was fear and I didn't even know it or really realize it. Was really big, because one of my goals has been to step out of fear and step all the way into life. So I've made adjustments, I've made plans, and I've talked with my accountability partner such that as I move forward in 2024, I'm extending, I'm stretching. So that has been my biggest reflection for 20. What year are we in? We're in 24. Yeah, we're in 24, believe it or not. So, but like I said, great questions, great conversation on tonight. What I want you to do is I want you to join us on next week as we continue this conversation about the importance of mental health and how it impacts our daily lives. Next week, we will be joined here on the couch. I'm by myself right now, but we will be joined on the couch next week with Patrick LeBlanc, the founder of Bridging the Gaps Foundation, who is going to be talking to us about the importance of mental health and how it is that we can help not just those in our lives, but the community in helping and fixing our mental health problem. You do not want to miss any of the episodes this week as we all get some therapy. Until then, I love you, I appreciate you, and I thank you for watching.